Good evening, everyone. Another episode of Know Your Pharmacist starts right now. I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, and I'm thrilled to connect with you all tonight. We've got an episode that's both captivating and enlightening, designed to empower your wellness journey, guys. First up on Pharmacist Frontline, we're diving deep into the flu risks that our seniors face. It's not just about awareness, it's about actionable steps to protect our most vulnerable. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Tech Talk, we're exploring the 6 different types of vaccine technologies that are shaping our future. Fascinating blend of science and innovation that's both productive and eye-opening. Enlightenment Hour. Tonight, we're focusing on those who are at high risk for the flu. It's a topic that's close to my heart, and I'm excited to share some expert insights that could be a game changer for you and your loved ones. Herbal Wellness Corner is back, and we're asking the question, is CBD oil good for colds? We're going to sift through the research to bring you the most credible answers that we know today. And in our community spotlight, guys, shining on Seco Spice, your go-to for the freshest roasted green chili. It's a love letter to our local culture that you'll absolutely adore. And finally, in Men's Health Minute, we're discussing a topic that's often overlooked: gender-based differences in adherence to influenza vaccination. That's a conversation long overdue, and we're having it tonight. Big thanks to our show sponsors, Pharmtrue, High Horse, the Trichome Alliance, and Vado Speedway Park. Your support makes this all possible. So everybody, happy Friday. Grab a drink, settle in, and let's collaborate on this journey to better health and happiness. You're in for a treat, guys. Jumping on in. As you can see right above me, you got the CDC, and that just disappeared for a second. Resharing that. Sorry, everybody. But I'm talking about the 4 types of flu vaccines that are available for, those at risk over the age of 65 currently. And I am minimizing that, jumping over here. So currently, people ages 65 and older should be getting one of these 3 vaccines if available. So, everybody, right as we're in that time where it's starting to want to cool down, and everybody's going to start considering getting their flu vaccines, seniors over the age of 65, make sure you get this vaccine. Sometimes, pharmacies, do not have the high dose vaccine available. And the question is, well, should you wait or should you not wait? If you're, over the age of 65, well, these are the cases where you can interchange, and you're going to get a stronger dose that's going to elicit a stronger immune response, which is much more recommended for, adults over the age of 65 at the end of the day. So either you're going to be getting your Fluzone high dose quadrivalent shot, which is probably going to be the most commonly available commercially right now, whether it's a big box pharmacy or independent. The high dose quad is going to be the one you need to get if you are an adult over the age of 65. So don't get me wrong, you can also get, again, like the Fluad quadrivalent or the Flu Block quadrivalent, and those I'll explain a little bit about the differences between the vaccines here. But don't just settle for the regular quad vaccine that, everybody age 64 and below is going to be getting. And that's the general, 100% purpose of what I'm saying here. Excuse me, I messed up the screen. Ugly. Let me fix that. Sorry, everybody, I'm back. There we go. All right. Fix the screen. Adults over the age of 65, you should be getting these 3, flu vaccines. Most common one is that Fluzone high dose for over the age of 65. Second most common is going to be your Flu Block and then your Fluad. Those are all going to elicit a stronger immune response, everybody. And they're going to be much, much, much better. So talking about a little bit, the different types here. I'm going to share this right from the CDC website so everybody can see it. The Fluzone high-dose quadrivalent vaccine manufactured by Sanofi Pasteur contains 4 times the amount of antigen that the inactivated virus that promotes a protective immune response as a regular flu shot. The higher dose of antigen is intended to give people 65 years and older a better protection against the immune response to vaccination and therefore better protection against the flu. Fluzone high dose has been approved for use in people 65 and older in the United States since 2009. Fluzone high dose quad first available in the US starting 2020-21 season. Other one, Fluzone quad, differences. Flu block quadrivalent, manufactured by Sanofi Pasteur. A recombinant protein flu vaccine approved for use in people 18 years and older, made using different production technology than inactivated flu vaccines and contains 3 times the antigen dose compared with your standard inactivated flu vaccine. So this is the flu block quadrivalent. Recombinant flu vaccine became available for the United States first time 2013-2014. Flu block quad going to be an option if high dose flu vaccine is not available and you need to vaccinate. So, I mean, most people don't think about considering what their options are going to be on the brand of the vaccine. Most people just say, hey, well, no eggs, right? Or something of the matter. And really what we're looking at is you want to make sure you're getting a stronger vaccine if you are an adult over the age of 65, because you're going to need that stronger immune response. And what's the last vaccine that can do it? That's the flu ad quadrivalent. That's an adjuvanted flu vaccine manufactured by Seqirus, made with MF59 adjuvant, an additive that is intended to create a stronger immune response. And so again, first available 2016-2017 season, but it turned into a quadrivalent version in the 2021 season, now available. And for those of you who are, taking this information and listening, thank you. I much appreciate it. I'm going to share with you right in the chat here the links to the resources for CDC, flu, high risk, people over the age of 65, just trying to be helpful. Happy Friday. All right, cool. So moving and jumping on into tech talk, because we're going to be talking about flu vaccine for a couple segments here. Jumping on in, vaccine technologies unveiled. So I like this little graphic from Pfizer for you guys, so I'm going to share this regardless of what people think or not about Pfizer. Obviously, they know how to develop vaccines. So guys, the 6 different types. I'm going to get you nice pictures, diagrams, the whole thing. Live attenuated vaccines. So, what are live attenuated vaccines? They contain pathogens, live pathogens from either a bacteria or a virus that has been attenuated or weakened. According to Dr. Scully, live attenuated vaccines are produced by selecting strains of bacteria or virus that still produce a robust enough immune response, but that does not cause disease. Attenuated viruses were one of the earliest methods of eliciting protective immune responses. Explains Dr. Scully, Vaccinia, the first ever vaccine which protects against smallpox, is actually where the term vaccination came from. So again, benefits: contain a live pathogen, the immune system reacts very well to them, and it will typically remember the pathogen for a very long time. The old shingles shot was a live vaccine, the new one is not. Examples, though, would be the varicella vaccine or the MMR vaccine. So those are current ones. This is how it works, right? Wild viruses or bacteria that have been weakened in the lab. Generally, the virus is passed through many generations of cells to pick up genetic mutations which weaken it, so it won't cause disease to your body. So wild virus, harmful wild genome, mutation over generations, weakened vaccine genome. So, live attenuated vaccines target your body's immune system directly, strong enough to trigger the immune response, but too weak to cause disease. And that's going to be your immune response showing, what it's doing. And so again, how does it work? Delivered by syringe or by mouth. Vaccine virus enters cells and releases code to replicate itself. Instructions are read and cell makes more virus. Viral elements that make cells sick are too weak to cause actual disease. Replicated weakened virus comes out. Replicated viruses are taken in by antigen presenting immune cells. And the end of the story, the antigen presenting cell, let's see, I'm losing some brightness there. Move that back. Antigen presenting cell, boom, thus takes virus, fragmented viral protein displayed on cell threat detected, immune cell helper cells trigger immune response. Body creates an army of B cells to produce antibodies against the virus. Antibodies bind to virus and prevent entry into cells. Antibody response, right? Memory cells created to launch an attack if the body encounters the virus, and infected cells recognized and destroyed. And those are live attenuated vaccines. Simple as that. Inactivated vaccines, more of the common ones. These are actually what we're getting mostly now. And, to work, they actually take a live pathogen to inactivate it or kill it. When the vaccine is then introduced to a human through a shot, however, for example, the inactivated pathogen is strong enough to create an immune response, however, incapable of causing disease. And where you look at this, the development of inactivated vaccines, viruses killed using chemicals or heat in a petri tray, at least here. So, again, live vaccines are wild viruses or bacteria that have been inactivated. In the lab, a wild virus is killed with heat or chemicals so it cannot replicate or cause disease in your body, and is safe for immunodeficient people. Vaccine target. Inactivated vaccines target your body's antibody production. This is weaker than natural infection or live vaccines. So, inactivated vaccines often require multiple doses. Mechanism: inactivated virus, target, immune system, antibody response. How does an inactivated vaccine work? Inactivated vaccine delivered by syringe or mouth. Vaccine virus or bacteria taken up by antigen presenting cells. Boom, boom, boom. We saw this in the other one. Vaccine chopped up into pieces called antigens. Antigens displayed on surface cells. A little bit more immediate use. Immune helper cells trigger the immune response, so on and so forth. And those are inactivated viruses. Other ones to note, right? Subunit vaccines. For example, Haemophilus influenza B conjugate, pneumococcal, shingles, Hep B. What are subunit vaccines? Well, subunit vaccines use a portion of a bacteria or virus to cause an immune response independent of its virus or bacteria of origin. Elements of subunit vaccines can be proteins, polysaccharide chains, or a combination of these. So as you see above, showing the same mechanism, really to get to that antigen, relatively the same. But you do see here adjuvant enhancer, target protein, depending on what's going in, because viral proteins in the protein vaccines are isolated in a lab, mixed with an adjuvant immune system stimulator, and injected into the body to cause an immune response without the virus that makes you sick, as you see. Polysaccharide vaccines and conjugate. Some bacteria blanket themselves in polysaccharide chains as a disguise to hide from the immune system. In the lab, protein conjugate is attached to polysaccharide and injected into the body to teach the body to recognize the polysaccharide disease disguise as a harmful invader. All right, so you're looking, vaccine released in the body, there goes the disguise, polysaccharide. They've got their little, right? It's like almost Halloween season. If you're a bacteria, how do you, get around? How do you get into the next cell? Replicate. Anyways, so moving on. Recombinant vaccines. Viruses, bacteria, or cells can be created in the lab which carry DNA coding from surface proteins or virus bacteria. These harmless hybrids can be injected into the body to cause an immune response to the viral surface proteins without making you sick. So you're looking up here, vaccine released into the body. 2, vaccine taken up by antigen presenting cell and displayed at surface as an antigen. 3, immune helper cells identify antigen and trigger an immune response. A subunit. Subunit vaccines use a portion of bacteria or virus to cause an immune response independent of its virus or bacteria or its origin. Elements of the subunit vaccines can be proteins, polysaccharide chains, or a combination of these. So as very similar mechanisms as you see there. What is a toxoid vaccine? For example, tetanus and diphtheria. Toxoid vaccines neutralize the toxic activity created by bacteria instead of the harmful bacteria itself, neutralizing activity which normally makes you sick. The vaccine target inactivated toxins, target the immune system antibody response, works as such. Adjuvant enhanced or harmless toxoid goes with that. Toxoids cannot bind to cells as toxins do. It's a toxoid. Just kidding. Toxoids can trigger the similar immune response as bacterial toxins. Bacterial toxins enter and eventually destroy cells. Immune helper cells trigger an immune response. Body creates army of B cells to produce against antibodies against virus. Antibodies bind to toxoid or toxins and mark for destruction. So where you look at this, like tetanus shots, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, that's all in the same shot, Tdap. What's a viral vector vaccine, for instance, like the COVID-19, right? And this was the AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson. This was different than the mRNA, but I'm not going to go too much into this since they're not really available anymore. I will show you guys a little of the mRNA vaccine here. For those of you who need a little bit of a refresher, made of a small section of virus's genetic material, the instructions or blueprint for a specific protein. An insoluble nanoparticle capsule carries the gene safely to your cells. So again, like Pfizer here, who obviously designed the probably best out of the ones after it all is going to be said and done. But this is what it's showing, how it works. Gene for a specific protein packaged in a little capsule, gene protein blueprint, insoluble nanoparticle capsule, target, spike protein. How does it work? Nanoparticles delivered by syringe, capsule fuses with cell membrane, releasing code. Instructions are read and cell makes target protein. Vaccine broken down after being read. Fragment to target protein, cell target protein, presents target protein on surface, boom, boom. Where it is then found by the immune system. Target protein is displayed, immune helper cells trigger an immune response, body creates an army of B cells, so on and so forth. So, these are how mRNA vaccines create immunity, guys. And there's going to be a new round of COVID boosters coming out very soon, if not like later today. So everybody just keep that in mind, okay? As you got a little bit of edumacation today. Happy Friday. All right, jumping on Enlightenment Hour. Wanted to show you guys here, talk a little bit about the high-risk population in flu vaccines. And so again, not only, and this is CDC, I'll share it. I won't be scared. But yeah, anyways, there it goes. Following is a list of all health and age factors known to increase a person's risk of getting serious flu complications. So, if you or a loved one falls on this list, go get that dang flu shot. All right, so adults 65 and older, children younger than 2, asthma, neurologic and neurodevelopment conditions, blood disorders, sickle cells, chronic lung disease, COPD. Do you have your pneumonia shot? Endocrine disorders such as diabetes, type 2, guys. We know 14% of our population has that. Heart disease such as congenital heart disease, congestive heart failure, and coronary artery disease. Kidney diseases, liver disorders, metabolic disorders such as inherited metabolic disorders or mitochondrial disorders. People who are obese with a BMI of 40 or higher. People younger than 19 on long-term aspirin or salicylate containing medication. People with weak immune systems such as people with HIV or AIDS or some cancers, leukemias, medications receiving chemo, right? Those who had a stroke. Other people at higher risk for the flu, pregnant people, and people up to 2 weeks after the end of pregnancy. People who live in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. People from certain racial and ethnic minority groups are at increased risk for hospitalization with the flu, including non-Hispanic Black persons, Hispanic and Latino persons, American Indian or Alaskan Native persons. Although all children younger than 5 are considered higher risk for serious flu complications, the highest risk for those younger than 2, the highest hospitalization and death rates among infants younger than 6. So, sharing that with you guys. Hope it's, just there for Enlightenment Hour, guys. Want everybody to take a look at, people at higher risk of flu complications. Take a look at your resources. If you or a loved one falls into any of these categories, you definitely should probably think about getting that flu shot on the schedule sooner rather than later, everybody. That's what we're talking about on Friday. Still cooling down. Winter's still coming. Nothing too extreme. All right, moving on. Cold and flu season. Going to talk a little bit about, guys, CBD and, colds. So in our Herbal Wellness Corner, I want to talk about a little bit of data that may or may not be there, right? What could be the link between, cannabis use, immune system, and viral infections. And again, this research is going to look at it in both ways, suggesting, cannabis use may be seen in more viral infections. However, the data is confounding and we cannot determine, is it the chicken or the egg, or is cannabis causing the spread of viruses? And this one, right, was a little bit more pertaining to COVID, but, where you just look at CBD, cannabis, inflammatory markers that people take over the counter when they're sick. There are options out there. And, CBD, I've heard, anecdotally that people do get some good use from both CBD and THC during colds and viruses, and that going without it, especially if somebody was a medical cannabis user otherwise, wouldn't necessarily be an option when they get sick or a cold or a virus. So maybe, right, they understand that you got to switch a dosage form. Maybe you're not supposed to be inhaling it anymore if you've got pneumonia, right, or whatever that may be. But that's what we want to talk about. Today, over 188 million users in the world, 2.5% of the population. United States, and this is like 2020 again, I think 2021. Increase in users, 11% to 25 million people. But what I'm interested here is, endocannabinoids are present on immune cells, monocytes, macrophages, basophils, everywhere, right? CBD and CBN can alter the functional activities of the immune system. CBD and THC have some antimicrobial properties on top of this, right? Cannabis and its active cannabinoids act as immune modulating agents affecting T cells, B cells, monocytes, and microglia, causing an overall reduction in pro-inflammatory cytokine expression and an increase in anti-inflammatory cytokines. The role of ECS, CB1 to CB2 receptors, and cannabinoids in various physiological symptoms, including immunity and different pathologies, have been well discussed, citing these studies. And coming down from this, these studies and the pathologies for different uses of cannabis are where the data may or may not be there, because, again, cannabis use disorder, non-cannabis users, when you do look at the inflammatory cytokines and the pathways there, right? Cannabis users, of course, are going to have higher levels. But this is where we're talking about, hey, is CBD going to hurt or help? What should somebody do if they're actually sick? Do they actually want to use CBD? Data out there at the end of the day is what this is showing. Isn't going to support it either way yet, guys. And I hate to be suggesting that as well, but it does come down to being a very, very person-specific risk-benefit analysis. Because, again, if your body's going to go in an immune response and go in a natural, path to healing, and somebody wants to accept that, then you can't necessarily challenge what OTCs that people want to try, right? And we can recommend safe OTCs based on, all the things that pharmacists look at. However, we can't go all the way into, being that person that selects that product for that patient. And sometimes patients come in, hey, can I use this while I'm sick? I've seen other data about, even studied here from a provider up in Albuquerque, Brian Crum, and we've talked about it, cannabis and antiviral activities. And it's not there either way, but when you look at inflammatory markers in the body, inflammatory markers, whether they're stress-induced and where that stress may be coming from, if cannabis has any possible way to help lower that, I think we're probably in the right direction. And, clinical data doesn't always support everything that you say and you hear. So we don't know that. And so as a provider, would I tell you to use it if you were sick? If you felt like you needed to, I would say sure. I would say be mindful of your, dosage forms. You don't want to be smoking if you've got pneumonia, so on and so forth. So that's for sure. But otherwise, edibles, start low and go slow. I would probably more so recommend higher CBD strains, or just higher, CBD for those who are, sick. If someone's going to go out and buy ibuprofen or Tylenol when they've got strep or anything else, I would say there's no harm, no foul in trying CBD as an alternative. Even, THC as well, if you are a THC user. But even, if you're just not a THC user, not even of the age, considering having the CBD in the cabinet is not a bad idea when you're looking at things like echinacea and vitamin C and zinc and, the other OTC things that people like to use for cough and cold. So, good old Herbal Wellness Corner, sponsored, guys, by High Horse Cannabis Company. opening up their newest location in Hobbs, New Mexico next week. Very excited for all of that. And of course, always writing history, not just reading it, guys. Cool. So moving on, community spotlight. Be shouting out Seco Spice, who's going to be selling their green chili by the pound over at the truck farm every single Saturday for the next few Saturdays until green chili season is over. So go get your fresh roasted green chili from our wonderful sister company there, Seco Spice, over in front of the truck farm Saturday mornings right outside of downtown area. So for those of you guys going in and out, that's a perfect place to go. Big shout out to all those guys over there for our community spotlight at Seco Spice. Moving on, Men's Health Minute. Last thing we're going to talk about today. Nice, happy Friday. We'll keep it nice and quick. Last thing I want to share here. So, analysis of gender-based differences in adherence to flu vaccine during the 2018 and 2019 season. What is going on there? Can you guys guess what this means for anything? Who do you got your money on, the guys or the girls? Who gets their flu shots? All righty. Results were significantly higher in females, 62.8% compared to males, 53.2% in both. So, what does this mean? Females go to the doctor more. Females are going to be more likely to get that flu shot. So in our Men's Health Minute today, men, yes, I challenge us all to go and be more adherent to getting our flu shot this year. But, women, if you're going to do it, find a way to bring a guy with you. Make it a date night. If you're more likely to go get that shot, drag that old ball and chain with you and make him do it. Because the stats are you're way more likely to do it. And that's all. It's a Men's Health Minute. Nice minute today, but we got a great weekend ahead of us, guys. I hope everybody has a fantastic Friday and rest of your weekend. We will see you guys Monday. This is Dr. Joaquin